you're making a peace with 9 black women, you're making a peace with 6 white women. What about diversity? And I couldn't explain even how shocked and appalled I was, offended, and all that at the same time. Because exactly what you're saying is the sense of depth and the sense of knowledge and the sense of words is just totally missing. This is a total inappropriate moment to mention diversity. So you now have a piece about Winnie Mandela with 9 black women on stage, which hardly ever happens in Holland ever.
Do you think that the conversation around race is now at a point where diversity is a sexy word, or all companies have like diversity projects, or at least they want to do something? But my personal feeling from being in, I feel I can say it after 8 years, is like the conversation still lacks vocabulary, like the
Depth.
subtleties around what race and racism. Yeah, okay, because I feel like it's Amsterdam's like a hot big city like New York, London, but then when it comes to race and dialogue, it's like a country 30 years behind.
Behind and very segregated.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
more segregated than I ever imagined.
it's look at this neighborhood even. It's totally segregated. I mean, I think in a sense a little bit it's again that double-bladed sword. But again, diversity definitely is a hype. The ugly truth is that diversity for me is never a hype, and it's always been my reality since the day I was born till the day I will probably die. So that is weird. And the way people want to implement diversity is also weird. Like the other day, Sunday, I went to Drenthe for an interview. We're making a piece now at the Noord-Nederlands Toneel about Winnie Mandela. So I was interviewed about that piece, gonna come out the 30th of November. And then all of a sudden they had a feminine day. So they invited a director and an actress who made a piece by 6 white women. And they invited me to talk about our piece. And there are 9 black women in that piece. And so we had this interview, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she said to me, yeah, but great, but what about, yeah, now we're sitting at this table. You're making a piece with 9 black women. You're making a piece with 6 white women. What about diversity? And I couldn't explain even how shocked and appalled I was, offended, and all that at the same time. Because exactly what you're saying is the sense of depth and the sense of knowledge and the sense of words is just totally missing. This is a total inappropriate moment to mention diversity. So you now have a piece about Winnie Mandela with 9 black women on stage, which hardly ever happens in Holland ever, which is rare and is unique and is strength. And now you want to talk diversity? Now you want white people in our Winnie Mandela piece? I'm like, hell, no. You have to know when to use it. And it's not about that everything needs to be diversity. There's a strength in things that still need to be told, that are ondergesneeuwd. It's going to be Dutch. Like undersnowed. This is direct translation. Do you know what I mean?
Under the surface?
It needs to still need a lot of attention and needs to still come to the surface. And for that doesn't need at this point diversity. It needs to be standing on its own and get on its own strong feet before we can talk about diversity. There is a time and a place for diversity. And if you feel what I said in the beginning, the need to use diversity from your heart, that is, I think, when things will gonna change. But if it's a agenda, or we're only gonna see, so now it's a marketing thing, so 9 black women or 6 white women, or what if you mix them up together? That's never gonna change anything. That's just the same song over and over again. So, and I think Holland in that sense is very backwards. Holland doesn't want to change. And sometimes I say to my friend, Holland doesn't want to change because Holland is a big, fat, rich country. And people are spoiled. People don't have to change. People don't have to wake up. Listen, if my white neighbor is gonna live her life without meeting or ever talking to a black person, she actually can. And no one will put her in jail for that. No one even comment on that. That could be her life. She could be happy. She could never talk to a black person in her life. My life, on the other hand, is a little bit different. So it's just a rich country, and people are just, it's sort of a lack of empathy what is just in front of them. So they have a great imagination when it comes to people far away and safe. I'm just going to say gay people in Russia, which is great and it should. But what is exactly in front of their face? Let me not even start about Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet. They just cannot handle it because it's like now all of a sudden it feels for them like an invasion of their space, an invasion of their freedom of speech, and now they're going to protest. It's luxury. It's gross, actually. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I do find it challenging to have conversations with Dutch people, white Dutch people, about race and stuff. Because as I say, it's the lack of vocabulary. It's literally like I'm talking Japanese to you.
Yeah.
Like if I talk about double consciousness, I'm sure there's a. Then you have to translate it into the Dutch version, and it doesn't exist yet. Like white fragility is something that was recently explored by white journalists.
White fragility?
Yeah, white fragility.
What is that even?
The idea that, well, actually, maybe you could explain it being from the African American diaspora. See how we're connected?
Yeah, yeah.
UK, America. How would you put it?
I would put it, white fragility is like in terms of Zwarte Piet, is that emotion that they get where they are the
victim.
the victim and the center focus of the story, right? And they feel vulnerable because they're made to reconsider or take other people into account. Right?
Yeah.
So there is this insecurity that comes to the top that they want everyone else to recognize, acknowledge, and that they're affected. That's white fragility.
Like not making space for somebody else to talk about their vulnerabilities. Yeah. It's like racism.
They occupy immediately.
I also had racism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, can I just have a day to myself? No.
Yeah.
Do you want to take this away? I also say, no.
Yes.
Now you think I'm racist. Yeah. And even the thought of being racist, like I'm a bad person. It's like, don't you understand? There's so many layers to this. It's also about power. It's about control. It's about what you
privilege.
Have without speaking.
Yeah.
You know. The white privilege, so all these kind of terminologies from our sisters across the water are filtering in the UK, and then it's mishmashing over here.
But there are no consequence. I think that's when it comes again to maybe being privileged or being spoiled or being rich. People, there are no consequences if they do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would not be able to walk the streets like that because if I'm gonna be not listening or ignoring the way people look at me or think about me, I'll probably be in jail already. But there are no consequences. So they don't really, again, have to change. Only if they want to, if they want to listen. But the moment you start taking a little bit of their space already, they're like, ho, this is a little bit too much. You want to tell me now what I'm thinking? Now you want to tell me, and it's almost like you black person want to tell me, white big giant, what to think, what to feel, or what to whatever. It's insane. So they sort of want to come across as grand or generous or open-minded, as long as you play their game and they decide what the rules are. And if they are vulnerable, you better pay attention because they are the center stage of the world. They are Central Europe, whatever that name is. And that is just, to me, as long as that's not going to change, nothing is going to change because at the end of the day, it's about you and me. Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to change? Are you willing to give up space? Am I willing to change? Am I willing to give up space? Am I willing to listen? And that is, as simple as it sounds, not happening yet.
So since you're a performer, do you go to the cinema though? Do you watch cinema?
I have a pâté pass, yeah. So I
Another
go.
one of them. Pâté pass. Cinema pass. Okay,
Yeah.
So do you go every week?
I go because I want to see what actors do from a technical and professional perspective.
Once a week, twice a week, once a month?
2 times a month, yeah.
2 times. Okay.
Yeah.
I always had this suspicion that Black Dutch, I'll just put it like that, embracing all colors, don't watch the cinema. They just go on Netflix or you know, like
But what is out there
yeah.
to see?
And I felt the same in the UK, but that changed around the 90s. There was a real push for more black content on TV and on in the cinema. So there was like a quite big shift, but still my references were African American soaps and series.
But that's for us the same thing. I mean, when the Cosby Show was on, I mean, let's not talk about Bill Cosby now, but when that was on, our whole family was watching it because that was a TV with black people in it. When there was this English thing, Desmond, I think the name was, about this guy cut the barber shop. We were like, oh my God, black people. The whole family was watching it because it was living color. That was on TV. Thank God it was on TV. The Oprah show. There were things you had to watch because there was rarely anything on. But when it was on, we were like, oh, finally. Yeah.
In the UK, there's like generation before me
Yeah.
who would be like, black people on TV.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
literally like that. Run down the stairs and like whatever was on.
Yeah.
And then things started changing, but I totally get that.
But it's important to stay connected with your culture, but it's even important to see yourself on such a big media as film and TV that people watch every single day. Sometimes it makes me depressed, but it's changing a little bit now. But back in the days, I used to count black people in commercials as if we don't have money to spend, as if we are not part of your economy. There were hardly any black people. The funny thing is that it makes me so upset, but that I am so conditioned to constantly look at white people and still be motivated to buy, even though that I don't see myself. I would always wonder what would happen if all the commercials were black people and if like white people would be offended. Like, why are all these black people on TV? I'm always questioning, while for us it's so normal to, I think 90% of what we see, maybe even more, are white images of life, of fantasies, of dreams. And we constantly have to sort of in our head make that translation of what the hell does that have to do with us? Like, oh yeah, sort of. And then sometimes we think it's us, and then we'll be very quickly corrected that it wasn't our dream. I mean, that's so exhausting in a sense. That's why I sometimes don't watch any Dutch TV anymore. I mean, I work for TV, but I find it so horrible to see.
I think that's what's changed with social media. You can really curate a whole life
Yeah.
on Instagram that totally represents you, even though
Yeah.
it's from other countries. And I think that's a big shift.
The algorithms will do it for
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
absolutely. So there's all black people.
Yeah, I was like,
There,
okay.
kids, is there, you know?
Yeah.
But I do feel that there's a strength in the social media in terms of representing blackish, Dutch content. There's this woman called Glynis. She's an agent, and also her mom used to be in the business for years.
Is this Glenn like the agent from Jasmine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was telling me that she has a web series with her family.
Yeah, with her mother.
And it's going really good. And it's like, not a big budget project, very intimate. And so I feel like this is the time to start thinking a little bit out of the box. And
Totally.
just really make content and see the audience that is thirsting for it. Because we are thirsting for it, so we know there are millions of other people thirsting for it.
And we have family. We are the same as us. We have nieces and cousins, and that would wish that there would be something like Insecure on TV.
Yes.
An Issa Rae there, or a Tiffany Haddish there, or just that it would be there, and that there would be even in that a diversity. So not that all the black people who are on TV are or comedians or police officers looking cool and having no sexuality, because the black woman is sort of an asexual person who's always tough. And I mean, what's that about?
Yeah.
That frustrates me too. No. Yeah.
I want to ask you if there was a turning point in your life. I don't know because I've had 3 interviews, I don't want to repeat myself, but did you have a turning point where you're like, okay, I embrace who I am? Was that when you, like 27, when you said you started working with people who were more interested in you and had more like interest?
Well, I think I'm still in development of fully embracing myself. That has more layers than only my color. That also has to do with growing up without a father and giving that a place, now wanting to start a family of my own and not knowing how to do that if I don't really know what a father figure is. Uh, so figuring out who I am will hopefully be forever. But I think at a certain point, I did decided that it was enough. So I didn't need every job. I didn't need to, not every job was a good experience, and definitely not every job contributed to my journey. And actually, some jobs could even damage my journey. And I realized that I think somewhere at the beginning of 30, that I thought I have to be very specific what I add to my life, because some things just drain you and you don't have forever. So I think that was maybe, yeah, I don't know, 32. After I made maybe my last show, I made a show about growing up without my father, which actually became a show about single momship. And I thought it's important to be selective and to, as far as possible. I mean, let's be true. Of course, sometimes I do things like why it was a paycheck, but it's also important that certain projects, at least 2 a year, are projects where you contribute to something bigger, where you
Please like and subscribe. Shout out Hues Films.